Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the WCEG Network, the new WCEG Network on WCEGTalkRadio.com or watch us live on Smart TV, YouTube, and LinkedIn. I am Vincent Cheeks, your show host of Conversations in Education for the next 30 minutes to an hour, we'll say today. This is our special holiday show in honor of Dr. King. And we are the Worldwide Community Empowerment Group, where we speak life into the community. Subscribe to our free YouTube channel, please, at WCEG Network. Like us on LinkedIn. We're going to be making some changes and going through some other platforms. So please like us on LinkedIn and YouTube as of right now. Download our free WCEG mobile app. All Apple devices go to Apple Store. Android devices go to the Google Play Store. We're on Roku streaming. You can also say, Alexa, WCEG Talk Radio. We have 12 podcast distribution platforms: Apple, Amazon, Google, iHeart, Castbox, and many others. Last but not least, the topics and opinions are those of the show host and guests and not WCEG Network. And as always, thank you for your continued support. Happy Martin Luther King Day, everyone. And for many of us and our listeners, that's the only thing going on today. So we decided to do a last minute special show. One, to give thanks for Dr. King and all of the civil rights leaders, men and women and children, that help us get to the place that we are today. We send out prayers that we can stay in the position that we're in today and not try to get knocked back in time as some people seem to be trying to do. So before we get into this special show dedicated to Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., I'm going to tell you how it's going to go. I'm going to perform a poem that I wrote 2 years ago called Stolen Treasure, Stolen Legacy. And I wrote this poem for my Kaumba Storytellers of Georgia organization. We have a program every February called Historical Black Portraits, which is going to be happening this year, February the 16th. I'll have to give more information to my producer, Penny, and she'll put it on the CIE message board on Facebook. But I wrote the poem called Stolen Treasure, Stolen Legacy for Historical Black Portraits. And at Historical Black Portraits, they take historical Black people and you can either do a story about the person or a poem. And so I decided to do a poem about the collective of melanated people. And it was called Stolen Treasure, Stolen Legacy. I'm going to recite the poem right now. And if you have any questions, you can ask in the chat. If you have any criticisms, I'm open to that too. But I do want to hear any and all takes and thoughts on the poem Stolen Treasure, Stolen Legacy. Also, this coming July, Mr. Kenny and I from KLG Variety Showcase, we will be doing our annual youth talent show, and it's going to be July 19th this year at the South Fulton Library. We're going to be having auditions starting in March, I believe. So when I'm on next month, I'll have all the dates for the auditions and all of that stuff coming up. I just want to let you guys know. So if you know of any talented youth ages 5 to 17, please reach out to me and let me know. My email is alchemyartisaninc@gmail.com. 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 And Alchemy Artisan Inc. is my nonprofit organization where we help children with their education and with their talent development. So with that being said, I am going to recite the poem, Stolen Treasures, Stolen Legacy by Ghetto Messiah. That is my stage name, if you didn't know. My stage name basically means the ghetto is where I come from, the Messiah is where I'm going. It's also a nod to my spiritual journey. And it's also a way for me to encourage people to start a relationship with the Creator, whatever that may look like for you. It's not my job to tell you that. So I spell my name Ghet period TO Messiah. So it says get to Messiah also, which is my way of encouraging you to start that very valuable relationship with the Creator. Okay. All praises to the Most High. And with that being said, I give you Stolen Treasures, Stolen Legacy. Let's travel back to the motherland, to an early civilization, when kings and queens ruled the land, and people of the nation. We studied agriculture and horticulture to feed the population and used river water for irrigation and to reach trade destinations. We studied the laws of the stars through our research of astronomy and transmutated molecules through alchemy and chemistry. We created the Great Sphinx and the mighty pyramids, two of the few wonders that still exist from that mighty period. We also invented paper in the first form of written communication. Our knowledge was so advanced that we shared it with many other nations. Sadly, that was our downfall, a mistake from the very start. We gave our wisdom to an enemy who had malice in their hearts. They pretended to be friendly, but devised a diabolical plan on how to divide and conquer the people and capture all the land. They came with guns, they came with swords, they even came with fire. They slaughtered us by the millions and then took what they desired. They stole gold, oil, diamonds, and all other natural resources, took every blessing we had and replaced them all with curses. They were devious in their deception, didn't let their cruel intentions show. For those driven by greed, gold, oil, and diamonds are the only God they know. Soon they realized the greatest treasure were all the gifted and talented people. So they took many of them back to America to perpetrate another evil. No more prosperous times, now gone were the glory days. They took teachers, doctors, scientists, and others and had them all enslaved. They were envious of our accomplishments and the strides that we had made. They used rape, torture, and murder to make us submit and behave. Made billions for their economy off the free labor that we gave. Worked us from sun up till sundown until they put us in the grave. Their clergy preached manifest destiny, said slavery was the will of God. Their scientists said we were less evolved humans, which allowed them to commit this fraud. 250 years of torment and servitude, that equals 2.5 centuries. They even forced us to pray to their God to make us believe this was meant to be. Eventually, the Civil War's unions freed 4 million slaves, which took us to Reconstruction. They set us free from the shackles, but set us up for more destruction. Yeah, they released us from physical bondage, acting like they did us a huge favor. Failed to mention the 13th Amendment abolished slavery except for prison labor. With nothing but clothes on our backs and racist black codes up to no good, we were still able to build striving communities like Black Wall Street, Rosewood. You see, the codes were meant to restrict freed blacks and to arrest for minor infractions, like vagrancy laws, wanting to vote and read, and many other minor actions. This was just the beginning because they wanted to keep their system of subjugation. Next came Jim Crow and the KKK, as our labor pains witnessed the birth of a racist nation. The film portrayed blacks as unintelligent beasts and the Klan as protective heroes. In reality, they were cowards in sheets that lynched and burned communities of Negroes. Look up in the trees just past the leaves. Do you recognize that strange fruit? Now the blood of my ancestors rained down on the ground and saturate America's root. More punishment and more pain that lasted for another 100 years. Another century of unprovoked bloodshed that kept our people in fear. Separate but equal was supposed to be their form of legal segregation. After being done wrong for so long, we were fed up with institutionalized discrimination. Then along came a king who saw there was a need for more improvement. He started a nonviolent fight for our civil rights. And with others, they started a movement. We organized boycotts, marches, and sit-ins because we couldn't stand no more. Civil rights, peace, human dignity are all we were asking for. After struggling and toiling for years, Congress finally passed the Civil Rights Act, which granted us many protections, but the racists couldn't stand for that. COINTELPRO with J. Edgar Hoover hated all things related to black, disbanded our groups, killed our leaders, and left us with nothing but scraps. Nixon started the war on drugs and waged it against those in poverty. Reagan shipped crack to our neighborhood, then sent police to our property. Clinton labeled our children super predators, then sent them to prison for eternity. Seems like they've done everything in their power to ruin you and me. They've even turned us against each other. Willie lynched our whole community, divided and conquered us so much that there's no semblance of unity. For hundreds of years, they've used us as their own personal social science experiment, kept us in darkness and ignorance for their benefit and to our detriment. So how do we get back to legacy? How do we reclaim the days of glory? First, take the pen from the oppressor's hand and begin to write your own story. Stop believing their propaganda. Deprogram and reprogram their indoctrination. Stop pledging your allegiance to this broken, hateful indoctrination. Educate yourself outside of what you're taught inside of their schools. Do this and I guarantee you'll learn things you never knew. Stop believing in racist lies and learn God's universal truth. Can you dig down deep inside yourself to reveal your rural roots? I consulted with Elder Griffin. She confirmed that the answers lay within spirit. The lips of wisdom are sealed, except to ears wise enough to hear. Hey, Black child, do you know your strength and true potential? You have the ability to transform yourself into whatever you want to turn into. But you must have a heart of gold. You must empower your mental to extract yourself from this living hell where these racist devils have sent you. The light you have within is enough to brighten an entire overcast desert. God's children don't die, we multiply because we were meant to last forever. Open your heart, access God's essence. You'll find the power beyond measure. Go home tonight and look in the mirror. Do you see it? Do you see it? Do you see it? Do you see God's greatest treasure? Thank you. Okay. So the reason that I wrote that poem is because I've been studying a lot of America's history for the past 10 or 11 years. Like deep dive into America's history. And these are just some of the things that I've learned. And not only that I've learned, but that I've learned have been hidden from us because there are certain people, the races that I speak about in my poem, that don't want us to know the power that we have and want to keep us in a downtrodden and broken state. And I would say for 500 years, 400 to 500 years, they've done a pretty good job of doing that. But we're living in the age of information and enlightenment right now. And the information is out there. If you really want to know the truth about this country, the truth about our history, the information is out there. You just have to go find it. And I wish in all of my research that I would have kept a log of all the books that I read and all the research that I did. But I did. I was really just doing that information for myself. And but once I put all this information in the form of this poem, and I started giving it to people and I started reciting it to people, I really began to understand and fully realize that there are a lot of my people, a lot of people in my community that we don't know our own history because we trust the watered down, whitewashed version of history that is fed to us through the American education system. And for most of us, we don't step outside of that to learn for ourselves any other information. So we are left relying on the information that our oppressors give us. And if you think they're giving us the truth, you're wrong. If you think they're giving us anything that will help elevate us as an individual or as a community, you're wrong. And if you think the people in power, the people in this government, if you think they care about us at all in any shape, form, or fashion, sadly, I feel you are wrong. Now, I'm open for debate. I'll debate anybody about anything because I am confident in my research and the things that I've learned. But the problem with some debates is people don't know how to debate. Uh, People like to divulge a debate into name calling and uh, insults, and that's not a debate to me. But I'm willing to discuss anybody on any platform, any of the things that you agree with me on or disagree with me on. Because again, I'm confident in the things that I know. So again, if you have any questions pertaining to the poem, if you have anything that you feel that I said was incorrect, please let me know. I'm open to all of that. My entire purpose for doing the things that I do is to create dialogue and to start conversations and to have people to think about the things that are really, really going on in our society, in our country, and in this world. Because to be perfectly honest, we're all connected. We all come from God. We're all God's children. Man has divided us into different religions and different subsects of categories and all these other things. But for me, I know that we are all connected. I know that we are all one family under God, but not everyone believes the same thing, because if we did, there would be a lot more harmony and unity in this world. Okay, so I have a question. It says, what are my thoughts on DEI being reversed? I'm not really surprised by that. I will say, I don't think, now there's a lot of reversal going on. There are a lot of companies that are getting rid of DEI and things of that nature. But there are also companies that are not getting rid of it. And those are the companies that we need to be aware of. I came across this app, and it's called Goods Unite Us. Goods Unite Us. And it's a pretty good app. But what this app does is it lists companies, and it tells you if these companies are Republican or if they are Democrat. And so the Goods Unite Us app, I think it's a good tool to use for us to start having a better account of where we send our $1.4 trillion spending power. Because yeah, if the majority of companies get rid of DEI, that's going to make it harder for black and brown people to get good paying jobs. And so we're in an era now where black and brown people really need to be entrepreneurs in creating jobs for their own communities. And there are not enough of us doing that. I've been an entrepreneur for about 20 years now. And I will say it's one of the hardest things that I've ever done in the hardest industry to get into, which is entertainment. But at the same time, it's been very rewarding for me. It's been very peaceful for me, because you don't have to answer to people that really don't care about your quality of life and what you're going through with your family or any of that. I just saw something on the news the other day where a Republican gentleman was saying that he doesn't want to increase the minimum wage, which is $7.25. Guess what? I'm 50 years old. $7.25 was minimum wage when I was in high school. Matter of fact, it went up to $7.25 when I was in high school from, I think it was $5.25 before that. And so that is mind boggling to me, because every year inflation goes up. Every year taxes go up. Every year groceries grow up. Everything goes up. Everything goes up every year, except the minimum wage. And that makes absolutely no sense. It's like the government wants to keep people in a position where you have just enough to pay your bills and get some food, and that's it. And many people still can't do that. The housing crisis is getting out of hand. They have a thing now where corporations are buying apartment buildings. They're buying houses, and the corporations are renting them to people, which is just another way to keep us in a bad position. It's just they're doing everything they can to take us backwards. So I think as much as DEI has helped, I think it would be even more helpful if we learn to co-opt, which means start our own business and then work together with other business with people that look like you. And I'm not saying anything wrong. There are some racist people that will make it seem like I just said the worst thing in the world because I'm talking about building and uplifting my community. But guess what? That's the same thing the Asians do, same thing the Jewish community do. In the Jewish community, their dollar circulates 20, 30 times in their community before it ever even leaves their community, if it leaves their community. Our dollar circulates maybe 3 or 4 times in our community. And then we're going to get Michael Kors. Uh, I don't know. I don't even know these name brands because I've been poor my whole life. And I've never been able to buy them. But I do know that because of slavery and our history of lack and not having, that when we do get a little bit, the first thing we want to do is go out and get and then say, hey, look, I got this, I got that. But that just keeps us in a consumer-based mindset instead of being creators. And that's what we are. We are creators. And we have the ability to create whatever we want to create if given the opportunity. And so, as much as DEI has helped, as you can all see, there's a movement to get rid of that. And so, what are you going to do then? What are you going to do when DEI is completely gone? What are you going to do when they're not hiring Black and brown people because they no longer have to? Like, we have to take those things into consideration. They're trying to get rid of the middle class so that it's gonna be the super rich and then the poor and the super poor. Those are gonna be the three classes. And the poor and the super poor, John Hope Bryant once said that the most dangerous person in the world is a person that has no hope. And when you're poor and when you're struggling and when you see no light for your foreseeable future, that puts a lot of people in a desperate mind state. And desperate people are very dangerous. So in case you missed that, where they're trying to take us to, getting rid of DEI and all these programs that have helped poor and minority people over the years, there's going to be the super rich, there's going to be the poor, and there's going to be the super poor. And so we have to take steps as a community to start thinking about what we're really going to do. How can we accumulate our power together, our knowledge together to work for the greater good? Now, I've talked about these things with people in my circle before, and I've learned that most people think it's just too much work for them to do anything at this point. They think the system is what it is, and all we can do is do the best to get through it and hopefully die with a little bit of something. And that is a horrible mindset state to have. The creator, when the creator put us here, he created enough for everyone to have. The people that run this country and created this individualistic mindset have really done a disservice to our community, because everyone thinks that it's each one for his own when it should be each one reach one, teach one. And that's the movement I've been on for the past 20 plus years. And so I just really feel like we got to come together as a people. And they're trying to do now. Let me say, when I say come together, people, I do want to make the note that all kinfolk, all skin folk ain't kinfolk. There was a Black gentleman on the news today, and I can't think of his name. I'm trying to find it. But he was on there talking about Trump, and he was propping up Trump and all the great things that Trump is going to do. And then at the end of his statement, he said, y'all basically going to have to get over it because daddy's home. just really boiled my eggs when he said that. And he just let it flow off his tongue like it was nothing. Like it was just everybody needs to accept this and move on. No, I'm not gonna sit here and disparage Trump because that's not. I don't do that. But I do know that his plan, his agenda, the 2025 agenda, Project 2025, um, it is not positive for Black and brown people, for melanated folks, for poor and minority people. It's not. I haven't read all of it yet. I just downloaded the PDF day before yesterday, and I'm going to start reading it this week. But I highly suggest, I strongly urge people to go out and um, and read. Even you can just find the highlights, the cliff notes of Project 2025. I would say do that because it's not positive. Now, the one thing I do want to say to all melanated people is I need you all to really have your emotions in check over the next 4 years or so, because things are already starting to get a little crazy, and it's only going to get crazier. He has empowered racists and people of that ilk to come from under the rocks or wherever they've been hiding for years to come out and feel empowered to speak down on people, to belittle people, to make you feel less than or put you in your place. I saw a video over the weekend. There was a white woman. She was in a Black man's driveway. He was about to turn into the driveway coming home. And she asked him, what is he doing? Does he live here? He said, yeah, I live here. The woman had her daughter with her. The daughter looked maybe 4 or 5. There was a stroller with her. The lady grabs her daughter, starts running, leaves the stroller there, starts running down the neighborhood screaming for help, like this man is chasing her or attacking her. Then the video cuts and it shows the white lady coming back into the yard. There's a Black woman on the porch with apparently the man's wife. The woman had been watching from the Ring camera, the wife, when the white lady was on the porch, and she didn't come out because she didn't know what the white was doing. So when the white lady came back and the husband and wife are in the driveway talking to the white woman, they're like, why'd you run off screaming? What are you trying to do? The Black woman said, this is my husband. We live here, blah, blah, blah. The white woman starts giving these crocodile tears and she starts apologizing. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were chasing me. I thought you were trying to hurt me. I'm so sorry. I'm just a woman with my daughter, and I wasn't sure what you were gonna do, and so that was my reaction. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. And I must say, the Black couple handled it very well. They spoke to the woman very nicely. And then the video cut off. I'm not really sure what happened, but that situation could have went left very easily if that woman would have called the police, and the police would have shown up and do what they are known to do sometimes. But incidences like that are going to increase because these people have been empowered. They're feeling like this is their land that they're taking back. And so we're going to have to be mentally strong. We're going to have to be emotionally strong. We're going to have to be spiritually strong because, again, this is just the beginning. So if you all have any questions, have any comments, please put it in the chat and I will answer them to the best of my abilities. Once again, you are listening to WCEG Network, Conversations in Education, where we speak life into the community. So I also don't know if you all remember when Trump first won the election, people were sending out emails, they were sending out text messages saying, slavery is about to start again. We're going to send a van to your house tomorrow to pick up you and your family. If you give us any resistance, you're going to be killed. Well, guess what? More stuff like that is going to continue to happen because these people have been in power. And what are you going to do? What are you going to do if you get a text or an email? I saw Black women crying because they were emotionally traumatized by this text message. They were scared that somebody was actually going to come to their house the next day and try to put them in a slave van. What are you going to do? I've learned to not, I've learned how to control my emotions. I'll say that on my spiritual journey, which has been very powerful and empowering for me because I've had people attack me over the past year or two. I've had people call me names. I've had people try to fight me. I've even had someone pull a gun on me for no reason at all. And I was able to walk away from that situation because I was able to keep my emotions in check. If I had lost my emotions or lost my temper, there's no telling where any of those situations could have led to. And so I've had to, uh, I kind of took on Michelle Obama's saying, when they go high, when they go low, you go high. Well, I think a lot of melanated folks are getting tired of that saying because I've been seeing all over the social media that people not really feeling that statement anymore. They're like, if you come for me, I'm going to come for you. Well, an eye for an eye leaves the whole world blind. And as tempting as that may be to get into that back and forth, that emotional pull and tug, I ask everyone to not do that. I ask you to remain in your peace, to keep your peace. The easiest thing to do is to walk away from any situation. There was another video a couple of weeks I saw on social media in a grocery store. White woman called a Black woman the N-word. It didn't turn out well for the white woman because the Black woman waited outside of her after the incident inside the store and pretty much gave the woman a beat down. I do not condone that. WCEG Network does not condone that. But that was the consequences of this woman's actions. You do have the freedom of speech. You can say whatever to whoever you want to say, but you are not free from the consequences that come with whatever you say. People are going through stuff every day. People are tense. People are on eggshells. And the melanated community is even more tense right now, more tense than ever before. They're supposed to be starting mass deportations tomorrow, the first day after Trump is in office. I couldn't imagine what the immigrant community is feeling right now. I can imagine. People have stopped going to work. People have stopped going to school because they're scared to leave their house. They're scared that somebody's going to come snatch them and take them back to the same situation that they just got away from. You're really going to have to do something to get your mental health in check over the next 4 years. I am a proponent of mental health. It has been a stigma in our community for far too long. I had a friend tell me a couple of months ago, please, Vince, don't judge me, but I've been going to therapy for the past year. I did just like this. I'm proud of you because you're doing what's best for you. You've gotten over that pride hump that says Black people don't go see psychologists. Now, I would say find someone that fits and works for you. Now, don't just go grabbing anybody because You want your mental health is the most important thing you have outside of your physical health. So, but um, definitely look into that. Make sure you keep that up. Keep your emotions in check. Um, it's going to be rough. It's not going to be easy because these people have been empowered to do the most, and they are doing so. Um, I want to talk about now for a minute. I want to talk about Dr. King himself. I've been calling Dr. King one of my heavenly mentors for a very, very long time. And Dr. King's message was unity, black and white, brown and yellow, unity for all the races. His I Have a Dream speech is one of the most popular speeches in this country, probably in the world, to be perfectly honest. But the I Have a Dream speech was not Dr. King's full dream. I believe that they killed Dr. King because he had started a push from going from just equality and being seen as equals to economic equality. And he was pushing for the United States um, to spend money on us, giving us checks, just like they gave white farmers in the 40s, 50s, and 60s for their land grants. They gave poor white people money to buy houses and to get on their feet and to get established. And if you don't know, land is the biggest asset that accumulates wealth. If you have land, you have a pretty good start on building a road to wealth and generational wealth for your family. And when Dr. King got killed, that's what he was pushing for. He wanted land for his people, and he wanted money from the government, basically reparations for the damage that you have caused and the damage that you know you have caused. And in doing so, did Dr. King make some mistakes? Yeah, but he was doing the best that he could with what he had at the moment. Did he do it the right way, as best he could? To his mindset, he absolutely did. Did he put others, a whole community, before himself? He did. And it cost him his life. And so we need to appreciate that. We need to understand he wasn't just about I have a dream. He wanted economic equity. Just think about that. We have been at the bottom of the economic totem pole forever. And like I said in my poem, we built $1 billion industry for them, $1 billion economy, I should say, off of free labor. And they're still taking advantage of our labor because they're not paying us a living wage. But we're so happy to just be getting something now that we're comfortable. But there's still more work to be done. Because if equality is the destination, we're definitely not there. And it's going to take more of us working collaboratively to make things happen. I have a question about my thoughts on the inauguration being on Dr. King's holiday. There's an inauguration going on today? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Like I said at the start of the program, there's only one event going on today for me, and that's Dr. King's holiday. But Dr. Bernice King, Dr. King's daughter, she made a statement and she said that she's glad that the inauguration is happening today, which I was a little puzzled with at first until I got the explanation. But she says she wants the world, specifically, the entire world, to see the contrast between what Donald Trump stands for and what Dr. King stands for. because they don't mesh. They don't go together. And so when I heard Dr. Bernice King say that, that made sense to me. Because since 2015, when Trump announced that he was running for president, he has done nothing but insult, cause division, and just make people feel bad about themselves. Like he doesn't care about anyone but himself and the things that he wants to accomplish. Dr. King's dream of diversity, because he believed there was strength in diversity, which I believe the same thing. We were all created different for a reason. If the creator wanted us all to be the same, he could have very easily done that. But the purpose, I believe part of our purpose here on earth is to learn how to get along with each other, which is why I don't dump on Trump, if you will. If people bring him up to me, the most I'll say is he's racist or he's a white nationalist or he don't like black people. And then I'm done. I'm not going into a deep conversation. I'm not going to a back and forth because this right here, my mental health, my mental peace is important to me. The best thing I could have learned how to do on my spiritual journey was control my emotions and walk away from things that threaten my peace. And so, because of the reasons that Dr. Bernice King made about why she's happy that the inauguration is happening today, I'm absolutely, positively happy that it happened today. All right. So my next question is, as an educator myself, how do I feel we should address the education system, the public education system? Well, I worked in the public education system for 2.5 years from 2003 to 2005. I quit in the middle of my third year. And I quit because I realized I was working in Bankhead in Atlanta, Georgia. And I realized that the system was intentionally miseducating Black and brown children. I'm sure you all remember the Atlanta public school cheating scandal, which is why I quit my job. That's not why I got into teaching. I'm all for the homeschool movement. I know some parents who have homeschooled, and it works for them. And they believe it has been the best for their children. The public education system, it's outdated. Our current form of education that we have now was created during the Industrial Revolution period. And what it was created for was to train people how to be good workers. That's it. That's what the school system was for. They wanted to train people how to be good workers. And they felt like if you got through 12 years of the education system, they felt like you were productive enough to be a good citizen in society. And it hasn't changed pretty much since the 1800s, really. Just like the minimum wage staying the same for so long. Like it just has been what it has been. And it has not been good for the melanated community. The standardized tests that they give our children were created to be biased. This was highlighted in an episode of Different Strokes, for those who were that age, when Willis and Arnold had to take these standardized tests. They didn't like them. They weren't doing good on them. And so they invited the guy over the standardized test to their house, and they administered their own test to the guy, from their perspective. And they were asking them things from their perspective in their life. And the guy couldn't answer any of the questions. I remember he got frustrated and he ended up running out of the house or whatever. But that was in the 70s. And it's been pointing out how standardized tests are not good for our children. So this is what I would say. There's a movement in the suburbs for their children to be in private schools and charter schools and all of this stuff. Schools you got to pay for. They get the best teachers, resources, and everything you can. I'll say this about the public education system. I was educated in the public education system. And I wasn't the best student. Let me say that right now. I was throughout high school, I was a smooth C student, okay? With some D's and F's thrown in there too. A's and B's were not my thing, okay? But that's because I was a lazy intellectual. And I hadn't realized my potential at that point. You know, teachers all my life told me, Vince, you're not maximizing your potential. Vince, you're not maximizing your potential. I wasn't until I was 30 years old until I even realized my full potential. And so we have to do a better job as a community and as parents on educating our children ourselves about where they should be. I didn't feel like an intelligent person until I started educating myself on the things that this country has stood for, which has mainly been about rich, racist white men. And I keep using the word racist because there are a lot of people in our community that just lump all white people in the same category, which should not be done. Because those same people that do that with white people, they hate when it's done to us. I hate when it's done to us when we're lumped in one big circle together. People are different. Not everyone is the same. I know a lot of good white people. I have a lot of good white friends. I don't treat my white friends any different than I treat my black friends. If I call you a friend, you're a friend to me. But at the same time, we have to address the reality that racism is real. Racism is real. It was created to last forever. So people that keep saying, oh, it's 2023, racism still here, 2024, racism still is, oh, it's 2025. I can't believe these racist attitudes still exist. Stop saying that. When racism was created, it was created to last forever. It's going to be up to the people, not just melanated people, not just black and brown people, all people. It's going to take those good white people that we know are out there. There are plenty of good white people that helped in the civil rights movement. There were plenty of good white people that died during the civil rights movement. And so collectively, we have to come together. Let's just start, because, okay, people like to make everything about racism, which most things are. But the fight we're fighting is really classism. You got the super rich trying to keep everybody that's not super rich down. And if everybody that's not super rich come together and realize that the super rich is the problem, we could turn this thing around within 10 to 15 years, I promise you. But that's our job. Our job as people and children of God is to create heaven here on earth. And we are so far from that right now. So far from that. And they're trying to take us backwards. Are we going to allow that? Or are we going to fight? Are we going to fight for the progress that we've made? And are we going to fight this system that has never been for us to create something better for everybody? For everybody. I know people who are black nationalists, and they get mad at me because I'm not a black nationalist. They get mad at me because I have love for every race on this planet, which is how we were created to be. And until we get back to that level of love for all mankind, love for all people, love for all communities, we're going to stay stuck in separation, which is not how the creator intended any of this to be. We are all one organism. And an organism at war with itself is doomed. So we have to come together and work collectively, starting with our own backyards. And then once we get our own yards cleaned up, we can start inviting other people over and say, hey, what do you need help with? What do you need help with? Well, we did this so we could get this outcome. We did this so we could get this outcome. How can I help you and how can you help me? How can we build together? That's going to be what really, really saves us. And until we get to that point, I don't know. It's gonna be crazy. It's gonna feel like the Twilight Zone. So we started this with the public education system. I don't want to totally put down the public education system because it's good for what it's good for. But you can't just be educated by the American public school system and just think you know anything really, because it's so watered down and it's so whitewashed, and so far from the truth in a lot of instances that's why we've been in the dark for so long, because we don't study for ourselves. When I was growing up, I heard this negative trope that said, if you want to keep anything from a Black person, put it in the book. Because apparently we just known for not reading books. But where does that come from? It all stems from slavery. I mentioned in the poem, we would get arrested, beaten, and killed because we wanted to read. But even with that, the reason for that was to hide the truth. That's it. That's why the people in charge, when they conquer and win wars and stuff, what do? They burn the books. They burn your history. They burn anything that is a semblance of what once was. And then they're going to come to you as a person and say, you need to join our team, or fall on the sword, take this gun, take this rope. You either assimilate to what we're doing or you're going to die. That's what it was. And so for me, use the public education for what you can use it for. Get out of it what you can get out of it. And then do your own research. The other gentleman on social media, his name is Conscious Lee. And he has a saying where he says, me search over research, which means he gives you information just like I might just gave you some information. And then he says, do your research over research. Do your research over his research. Because he's already researched the information. Now it's time for you to do the me search. And that's really where the start of true education begins. We can't continue to rely on an education system that we were never meant to be a part of. Never. Now, that's the one thing I will say about Dr. King, and he realized this towards the end of his life. He said it out his own mouth. I fear I may have integrated my people into a burning building. I fear I may have integrated my people into a burning building. Because when we integrated, we gave them control of our businesses, our schools, our mental health, everything. Everything. And because they feel about us the way that they do, these racists, they took advantage of that. Oh, you wanted to be in our system, or we're gonna let you in, and we're gonna do the most with y'all to make you as uncomfortable as possible. We're gonna make it hard for you to rent. We're gonna redline. We're gonna make it hard for you to vote. You got to count jelly beans in this jar. Read passages out of book when they know you've been forbidden to read for the longest time. We have to get to a point of self-sufficiency. Self-sufficiency is the key to freedom. Now, I don't know if that means we should not be integrated anymore. Because I had one guy who I knew was a Black nationalist. He wanted to sue and had make the government give us, I don't know, he said like 3 or 4 states or somewhere where all melanated Black and brown people could go and just be concentrated in that one area. And I didn't like that thought immediately, because the first thing that came to my mind was the MOVE bombing in Philadelphia in 1985. First thing that came to my mind was Black Wall Street getting burnt to the ground in 1921, 35 city blocks of Black-owned businesses, Black-owned, self-sufficient, everything. So if we were all concentrated in one area, it would just make it that much more easier for them to bomb us all at one time. So now I don't think that, not here in this, he wanted that in the States. Like, no, that's not gonna work. But it's kind of that type of thinking that we got to start looking towards, because clearly integration has not been the best for our community. We have much more control over ourselves and over our community when we were segregated. So I'm not 100% sure what the answer is. But what I am 100% sure of is that the dialogue, the conversations need to be started. They need to be had. They need to be had in suburban Black America. They need to be had in poor Black America, in the hoods and the projects. We have to come together at some point and stop being Willie lynched. And I mean that as a double entendre. We have to stop being Willie lynched and being bamboozled. I take a little bit from Dr. King, I take a little bit from Malcolm, I take a little bit from Marcus Garvey. And for the most part, try to be as nonviolent and peaceful as possible. No, as long as you're not touching me, we good. But something drastic is gonna have to happen for us to continue to move forward and to continue to ascend and evolve in a positive direction. So again, I don't have all the answers. I want to say this before I go, because I keep saying collaborating, working together. We can't work with everybody, which brings me to Snoop Dogg, Rick Ross, Nelly, and Soulja Boy, who are all catching heat and backlash because over this weekend they've all decided to perform at Trump functions. And I don't know, I guess I was about to say I can understand from a certain perspective, but I can't. I can't understand that. I don't understand it. We have people in our community in high places that have money that seem to forget that they came from the places where we are currently residing in. I guess they get to a certain status, they get to a certain income, and they start having that I'm better mentality. I don't have to reach back and pull nobody up because I got mine and I'm good. Which even that mentality stems from white supremacy. Same reason why we had field Negroes and house Negroes during slavery. There were just some of us that wanted to be closer to the master. And for me, there's no amount of money that makes me want to get that close to the people who are oppressing me and continuously keep their foot on my neck, or their noose around my neck, or their bullets in my head. I don't understand that. And to me, that dishonors all of the sacrifices that our ancestors made. It dishonors the fight that we fight every day to just be heard, to just be seen, to just not be killed. And we have to do a better job as a community to stop propping these people up like they the end all to be all. When a lot of them, when they get to a certain status, don't care to look back to see who left behind. And the biggest two emotions I felt when I kept reading these things about Snoop and the rest of them, I kept feeling deeply disappointed and deeply embarrassed, because it just doesn't make sense to me. Soldier Boy, now Soldier Boy, Rick Ross hasn't made any statements. Snoop on his Instagram page, he put up some song called "I Unfollowed You." Who cares? So he really don't care about nothing that nobody's saying to him. Nelly went on Willie D's show and tried to explain himself, and he sounded like an uneducated field hand who has never picked up a book in his life. He just mumbled and garbled a bunch of stuff. And in the midst of all that mumbling and garbling, he said, nobody has proved to me, or somebody needs to prove to me that Trump is a racist. Okay. I would think his body of work and resume speaks for itself. But who am I? And Soldier Boy, now Soldier Boy, out of those four people I named, he's the one I have the most respect for. Because Soldier Boy went on Instagram, and Soldier Boy, Soldier Boy had a stack of money look like this. Soldier Boy said, Donald Trump paid me. Kamala ain't pay me. Obama ain't pay me. Yeah, he waving his money, and he let everybody know that it was just about the money. I have no choice but to respect that. You letting everybody know you sold your soul, and you have a price. I respect that. But don't be like Snoop, who in 2020 made a video about people who perform for Donald Trump, or jigaboos and all these other names you call them. And then 4 years later, you're the jigaboo that you were talking about 4 years ago. Like, that doesn't make sense to me. So we have to do a better job as a community in making sure we prop up the right people to represent us. And then we have to do a better job of identifying the ones who are not with us and make sure we cancel them or handle it accordingly, however we're going to do that. Valid point. This commenter said, they own the publishing companies that produce the school books, so they dictate our story until we take it back. That is true. Again, that goes back to what I said earlier about us not being owners and creators. We're known around the world as a community of consumers. You want to make something, you want to sell it, and you want to get the black dollar, make it good enough, they'll pay for it. Make it good enough, reasonable price, and sometimes it don't even have to be reasonable price. Because some of the stuff y'all pay for these Hermes bags and getting on the list to wait for these, this is ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. But that I don't want to talk about that. That's not what I'm here for. My point is, as a community, we have $1.4, $1.5 trillion spending power. What are we going to do with that? Are we going to continue to give it to communities that don't care about us? Again, this Goods Unite Us app, it has told me all the companies that I need to support and that I don't need to support. Walmart being one of the ones we definitely need to stop giving money to ASAP. And this app, the Goods Unite Us, I even love the name, Goods Unite Us, because there should be a movement tonight to unite all people around the world. But there's so much division and hate in this country, it almost seems impossible. But it's not if we do the work. But it has to be enough of us doing the work collectively. Like I said, start in your own backyard, and then we can start inviting others, going into other people's yards, helping them see what they need collectively. Help everybody get to a place of comfort, which is what the Creator wanted for all of us. So, all right. I think that's going to be it for today. I appreciate you all tuning in and listening. I wasn't supposed to even do a show this week, but with everything going on, my producer Penny hit me up earlier today, talking about my poem and how much she loved it, and we just put this together. So again, can't stress this enough. Keep your emotions in check over the next 4 years. Find an outlet to maintain your mental health. Because things are going to get crazy. They're going to get bad. And we need to be here for each other. We need to be here for each other. We need to lean on each other. I know I got Spanish friends. I got Haitian friends that are feeling the same way. Like, we got to come together. We got to stick together. My friends literally span the rainbow, which I was called by a Black nationalist and Uncle Tom, no, a bootlicking Uncle Tom, because I believe in diversity. I believe in having love for all people and uniting the world, really, because that's what the Creator wants. But even with that, I stood strong in my position. Like, that's how I feel. That's my mentality. And you, as a Black nationalist or anybody else, is not going to sway my opinion. And so he and I had we had this back and forth for a while, but we're still cool. I don't believe in all that extra losing friends and fighting over this stuff, fighting over people that really don't care about us. Because if you ask me, Democrats, Republicans, they two wings of the same bird and they fly together. I don't think none of them like us, if I'm being perfectly honest. I've told that to my producer Penny before. I've told that to my coworker, Ms. Valencia Stovall, who is a politician, who is the only politician that I trust. So her and Norman, I have to remember the Hill politician too. But they're literally two politicians that I trust, and they both work for WCEG Network. But that's also because I know the work that they've done. I know the work that they put into the communities, not just the Black community, communities. And they're good people. So yeah, I'm going to close on that note. I want to send respect and honor to the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Since I was in elementary school, when I did had to do my version of the I Have a Dream speech when I was in the 3rd grade. And ever since then, Dr. King has been up here for me. So much love and respect to Dr. King, to Dr. Bernice King, his daughter, who is still continuing his legacy. I hope everyone had a day to relax today. And if you were able to get out and be productive, I know the weather is kind of crazy all around the country right now. But I hope you had a relaxing, productive day if possible. And with that being said, we appreciate you tuning in to WCEG Network, Conversations in Education. We appreciate your continued support, and we hope that you continue to do so and follow us in 2025. We're going to continue to be here for you and continue to move forward in making our community better and making the world a better place. Until next month, see you February 18th. Peace and blessing. Thank you.